Instead, it is to say you're actually not in pain. So let's just a little, very short clip. Bill Clinton in the 1990s, it was all about empathy and sympathy. I can't stand the word empathy, actually. I think empathy is a made-up New Age term that does a lot of damage, but it is very effective when it comes to politics. Sympathy I prefer more than empathy. That's a separate topic for a different time.
The fundamental weakness of Western civilization is empathy. The empathy exploit. They're exploiting a bug in Western civilization, which is the empathy response. So, and I think empathy is good, but you need to think it through and not just be programmed like a robot.
And the message is really, my message is to the reasonable center. The common sense. So my appeal is to British common sense, which is to look carefully around you and say, if this continues, what world will you be living in? This is a message to the reasonable center, the people who ordinarily wouldn't get involved in politics, who just want to live their lives. They don't want. They're quiet. They just go about their business. My message is to them: if this continues, that violence is going to come to you. You will have no choice. You're in a fundamental situation here where whether you choose violence or not, violence is coming to you. You either fight back or you die. You either fight back or you die.
So, Elon and Charlie spoke against empathy. Charlie said, he believes that empathy was New Age. It's kind of bad. He believes in sympathy, not empathy. You then go on to Elon Musk literally saying that empathy is the weakness of Western civilization. You need to reevaluate it, all these wonderful things. And then after Charlie Kirk's assassination, he's out there in the UK at an immigration protest saying, and quote, violence is coming to you, and that you need to respond or die, right? That's his position to quote reasonable people. Let me try to explain something to you. Empathy is not weakness. Empathy is the greatest strength. But denying empathy is ultimately what creates these problems. Now remember, Matthew 22:36-40 clearly describes that loving thy neighbor as thyself is God's highest command. It is above all other laws that you read in the books and all of the prophets, literally. Now, after this, you'll hear the full context of Charlie Kirk's position on empathy and what he said during the entire minute or so on of his statement regarding empathy so that we can actually talk about Charlie Kirk. But I felt we needed to talk also about what Elon is saying. Because this is what happens when you start to annihilate empathy. You see, human beings' brains, it existed for one purpose and one purpose. It has its fight or flight response. That is your instinctive response to everything. And when you are intellectually threatened by somebody who disagrees with you, you do have that fight or flight response. Is this person calling me stupid? Is the person who disagrees with me calling me stupid? Is the person in front of me bad? You go into these responses. And if you do not have empathy, if you do not understand that empathy within society is literally defined by Matthew 22:36-40, which the video that I talk about it is in the description, that you are supposed to love your neighbor as yourself. And that is not what gets you into heaven. It's part of it because you are supposed to live it. Now, understanding that the people who are around you, together, all of you, are just simply trying to live together and make society better, make your community better. That's what your neighbor wants. That's what you want. Your disagreement is not a threat to you. It is not a threat to him if you love each other as though you are equals. If you do that, you understand that the person may have oppositional position to you, but if you're willing to listen to them with respect and admiration, as though somewhere hidden within that person's communication may in fact be transformative knowledge to you to change yourself in a better way. In other words, God's voice, God's wisdom may come, a little piece of that wisdom may touch you. You see, Matthew 22:36-40 is truthful. It is real. How you relate to others, your connection to other people will ultimately define your life. And how you relate to people will define on how deeply connected you are to people. Just like when Elon Musk made that statement, groups of those 100,000 people that he was talking to reacted violently. In part because Elon told them, you, even though you're surrounded by 100,000 people who agree with you to some degree, that you're under threat. So they attack cops. What? You're surrounded by all these people. There's no invading army. There's no real actual threat. The threat is an intellectual threat on your position on immigration. But there is no real threat. It is an intellectual threat and the belief that you might be judged, that you might be looked at improperly, that people are saying you're wrong. The problem is that if you love someone as though they were yourself, somebody saying you're wrong, who you don't know, you get angry against. Because what the hell do you know? I'm right. But if you love them and you feel empathy and connection, you go, well, why? Why am I wrong? I think I'm right. Here are my 10 reasons why I think I'm right. The guy gives you some other reasons, and then you go, oh, well, wait a second. Yeah, okay, in these areas I'm right, I get that, but maybe there are some areas where I'm wrong. But you know what? Thank you for pointing that out. I'll try to be a better person. Thank you. That's what you say to a friend, to a person who you love, pointing out an error in your philosophy. It's the same thing with me. If I'm talking to someone who I respect and admire, who I respect and love, even though that person is MAGA, but I love that person, I might say, okay, that's a good point. And yeah, okay, I'll take that. And I think that's a good idea. I think that's a good idea. I think this is a wise point where I'm wrong. And you know what? That friend of mine who might be MAGA might be talking to me and says, you know what? Yeah, I get that. You might be a leftist communist pastor, Jim, but you know what? On that point, you're kind of right. I'm going to add that to my value system and my intellectual stuff and live better, and because we're friends. That is Matthew 25:36-40. That's it. That's its truth. And it's not just biblical truth, it's personal truth. And that's also why, like Matthew 7:4, about, when you see, the dust in a person's eye, why you take the log in your eyes. People use that to offensively attack people who are judging them, saying, you can't really judge me because you have the log in your eye. Because people don't get what that philosophy is supposed to be. Religion is internal and personal. You accept it into your being and you do the personal review. For example, like let's take an empathetic response with what Elon is saying, that immigrants are a threat to you and they're going to do violence to you. You're under violence and you've got to react or you're going to be killed. The log for you holding that position, looking at that might be, well, wait a second. Am I really under threat? Am I judging people who are telling me that I'm under threat? Am I under threat? Because if I am, I'm judging all of these people who this man just said are trying to kill me. Are they trying to kill me? Because this is this belief I'm being told. People are trying to kill me. Are my friends or migrants always trying to kill me? The answer to that question is no. Are there a few that might? Probably. But am I under threat? Am I personally under threat, like right now? No, I'm not. Am I under threat when I walk down the street? No, I'm not. And that's what it's about. That's what Matthew 25, 36 to 40, and Matthew 7:4 teaches. Because empathy is real. And that's how you analyze empathy. You analyze empathy by making it part of you. Because Elon is wrong. And I know people who love Charlie Kirk. On the position of empathy, he is wrong. You, like, for example, like the log in your eye. So which one would you rather have directed at you? Would you rather have somebody have empathy towards you or sympathy? A person who has sympathy, who maybe even might sound pitiful, with pity, instead of a person who has empathy, who says, I get you. I see what you're doing. Now let's go get something done. Let's address this. Let's get together and go. Versus somebody who has sympathy, who doesn't feel that they have to take action, that they have to work with you. Which one would you want? I don't know. That's up to you. That's a personal assessment that you must pull into yourself on Matthew 7:4. Is empathy or sympathy? And that's not even a political position, or the fact that he uses it on a political position. Is politics even part of empathy and sympathy? Do only leftist people have empathy and people on the right have sympathy? Is every person who is on the left always empathetic but never sympathetic? Are all people on the right always sympathetic but never empathetic? Is that the case? Is that how I'm supposed to experience the world? That my political leaning is supposed to demonstrate whether or not I express sympathy or empathy? Or is it that those are human responses and politics really shouldn't be there because that's being human and being human is higher than politics? Or whatever you might interpret as you look at yourself, and instead of, because you're now going to be judging others based on the empathy versus sympathy position, whether or not you are taking the log out of your eye so that you can actually see truth. This is a debate point. Thank you very much. Let's openly have these discussions. If people are saying that empathy is bad, then we need to discuss what empathy is and what is the value of empathy, and directly about the positions that people who are saying empathy is bad attack, because they attack a particular interpretation of Matthew 22:36-40. This is the religious debate. I know people who are not religious are kind of like, what the fuck? Or on Matthew 7:4 about the blog. Let's have this discussion. And if you're not religious, let's just have an open, honest discussion of what is the role of empathy and sympathy. And is this right that empathy and sympathy is political or not? So let's debate. Like, share, subscribe. Thank you much.